Hey, Tim Sykes here. Not my proudest day. Some losses, some undisciplined trading. It sucks. It leaves a bitter taste in my mouth, but I'm in timeout right now because I'm just a mess today. And sometimes you have to recognize that. Some people are like, wow, Tim, you've been trading all these years and how did you not see this? Listen, every single veteran trader loses. I tweeted this. It's 100% true. The best traders just learn how to minimize them. So yes, I did have some losses today. Yes, they were some undisciplined trades. But at the same time, I cut my losses. I kept them, rather minimal, and I protected my overall gains. So not the end of the world, but hopefully, I can help teach you, and you can learn from these mistakes and you can learn what not to do. Also, you have just a few hours or days. I don't even know when exactly this stuff ends. But we have some Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals on stocks to trade, on Profitly. A lot of my guides. Oh, here's a timer. 4 days and 15 hours. Grab this. Okay. The more that you can study, the more that you can be prepared with these patterns and rules ahead of time, because when stocks are moving, guess what? They move very fast. And those people with a framework do better. It's really tough to try to learn while you're trading. You really need to try to be prepared. If you look at athletes, for example, all the best athletes, you don't see how much time they put in practicing at night, on weekends, when there's no cameras, when there's no game, when there's no match. But that's how they shine during game time, during the match. Like if you're watching the World Cup, all of these players practice nonstop. Their shots, their fitness, their health. You don't see all the stuff that goes into making them succeed, because then, like World Cup, it's very fast. I mean, like just millimeters matter. Like if you're off by a little bit, you hit the crossbar instead of hitting a goal. If you're a little slower, you get the ball stolen by your competitor. In trading, obviously, it's not, the World Cup. Most traders wouldn't last, more than a few seconds against any of the top soccer players. But it is a similar competitive type landscape. And the cool thing is, World Cup, like they only have a very short window for their careers. In their teens, in their 20s, by their 30s, their, bodies are already hurting. The injuries are piling up. Trading, it's the exact opposite. In fact, the best traders that I know have been trading and learning for years, if not decades. So that by the time you're 30, by the time you're 40, by the time you're 50, you have a lot of experience. And it's important for me to talk about this because people lose track, right? Like they're like, I want to make $1 million overnight. You should learn to focus on your education first. Build a foundation. I say it a lot, but too many people still don't get it. If you look at my trades this year, look at this. Oh, barely over 100 grand on the year. Oh, losses. I'm not doing that great this year. This is basically like 1/10 of what I made last year. But you also have to keep things in perspective. The average retail account is down 44%. Average, down 44% this year. Maybe the markets have bounced, so now maybe, since that report came out a few weeks ago, maybe now the average account is down 40%. But I'm not down 40%. None of my top students are down 40% or even 4%. So again, it's preparation. It's cutting losses to a minimum. Not hodling, not believing anybody else, not following alerts from anybody else. Really understanding the process and being self-sufficient. So am I proud of today's trades? No. Okay? These are all three not great trades. But at the same time, no true harm came to my account. I'm basically down a few $100s on the day. I can afford it. On all of them, the losses could have been worse. So that's what you have to understand. Leave a comment underneath this video. Say, I will cut losses quickly. It's not fun. It's not exciting. If you're in a promoted stock and you post your losses on Twitter, all the promoters are going to rip on you. That's just part of the game. Anyways, let's start with my first trade, small profit on GTII. I got the morning panic that I wanted, which, is very nice. By the way, the whole market is dropping big today. It looks like we actually have like this topping pattern, this multi-week topping pattern. You have to also remember how much we're up off the lows. Like we've had a big multi-month bounce. So it's going to get a little congested in here. But GTII was a big runner. Now it's falling off a cliff. One of these days it's going to bounce. So this is the play that I would take again and again because, I'm dip buying morning panics. Obviously, last week it worked quite nicely. You had a morning panic here. You had not necessarily a morning panic, but like a nice little spike right here. A little panic and a little bounce here. This is a panic, and it did have a little bounce, which is basically what I took, but just not much. The actual panic was here at around 10 a.m. Sometimes you get kind of like this slippery slope bottom where it's just like there's no true panic and there's no true bounce. And then when it takes out the day lows, right here at 120-ish, like that was actually the bounce. Like this doesn't look like much, but this is, a nice 15% bounce. So there was opportunity. I was in on this mess though, and I took this little bounce. This is probably like my best trade of the day, even though I barely made any money. Not even just the profit. You can't just, review a trade and say, oh, profit, good trade. Sometimes you have a profit, you get lucky. Sometimes you're undisciplined. A profit does not tell the whole story. On this one, I dip bought probably a little too early because I was afraid of missing it. I added, which is risky. But again, this thing is down so much and I thought that it could bounce. And then when it couldn't bounce, I got out for small gains. That's the whole story here. If you want to be more disciplined, there's no absolute panic. So there's no trade whatsoever. If you want to be truly disciplined. But sometimes, like this first trade, I'm taking a small position. I'm being a little speculative, but also this does have a history of bouncing real quick. So, if I could have gotten out in the 150s, 160s, made a few hundred, I'd be happy with that. Didn't get it. Had the choice of cutting losses here, but I was like, you know what? I have such a small position and I still think this can bounce. So that's basically, what happened. So that was a decent trade. This was a less decent trade, but still not my worst trade of the day, even though I think it might have been my biggest loss, dollar-wise. ASAP is the former Wader Holdings, WTRH. They changed their ticker because they're just such a terrible company. So I wasn't expecting this to be like, oh, this is going to be a long-term buy. But they announced a deal with Chipotle, and Chipotle is not just delicious, but very popular. And, it spiked up quite nicely from like 110 all the way up to the 170s. Really quick, though. It got halted. So I'm buying it on a dip here in the 140s, thinking that it can go back, to the 150s, 160s, 170s because of this Chipotle deal. Just didn't get a bounce, like zero bounce whatsoever. So, you can say like bad entry, but again, it's breaking news. It's speculative, not the worst trade. And I did a really good job cutting losses, only lost, a few hundred. It could have been much, much, much worse. As you can see here, some people are grumbling like, what? They announced a Chipotle deal and they're still down 6%. This is manipulation. Like, people complain about every little thing. This isn't manipulation. This is just a terrible company with a terrible long-term chart. You will see me take speculative trades like this in December, in January, heading into the next few weeks, because this is a classic type January effect play where, you're having this stock beaten down the past few days and weeks. People are just basically selling it to take the tax loss before year end. Does it really deserve to be down here? Well, today's price action tells me that probably yes. But before this failed spike, I would have thought that it could hold a spike at least a little bit. January effect plays, I'll go into it more, as we see more examples. But usually even terrible companies like this, terrible charts start spiking for a day, 2 days, 3 days max. So some people are confused, like, why am I buying this gradually downtrending stock? Because it's a January effect play. And you'll see me start, taking more and more of the strategy, so don't be surprised. But it obviously didn't work, cutting losses. And then this was my worst trade of the day on HUDI because, this is a potential January effect play. Like, it's a former supernova. And I just thought, you know what? Like, it's spiking. and let me get it on a dip here. So I got it, I saw it go up to 750 and I got it on a dip. I almost bought it right here on this dip. So, this was also a little FOMO, fear of missing out, because I saw it on this dip here. I saw it get to like 720, and then I had a chance to buy it here at 7-ish before it went to 750, and I missed it. So then next time it came down, I was like, oh, it's probably going to retest 750 again, which it obviously didn't. No news, just a speculative spiker, and, really, again, not the biggest dollar loss, but really poor job entering, first of all, because I let FOMO get to me. Second of all, I didn't even cut losses well at 7-ish like I should have. I wanted to give it more time and had a little nasty spread. So just an all-around bad trade. Bad entry, bad exit, bad plan. And this is when I put myself in timeout. If you ever have like a really bad trade, not necessarily big dollar loss, but just an undisciplined trade, you put yourself in timeout because, my mindset is off today. Luckily, I'm only down a few hundred because I'm trading small, still protecting, my overall gains, but it's such a slippery slope. Like, I know some traders, I've been interviewing several top challenge students in the past week. I actually interviewed 2 challenge students, each up 600,000 and 700,000, David and Evan, and I'll post those videos soon. But both of them are basically flat in 2022, and they've had some gains and then some losses, some gains and some losses. And, David actually just had a $100,000 loss, which really, helped him see how much risk he was taking. He's already made half of it back through small trades. Evan, was like plus 60K on some of his trades, then negative 60K, plus 40K, then negative 40. It's really tough. And this is, pretty much all traders that I know. So if you're green at all in 2022, give yourself a round of applause. And if you're taking these trades, I would just trade with smaller size and cut losses quickly. There are some plays that are spiking. Like I'm missing COSM, which is choppy, but you have clearly a multi-day uptrend in place. WSRC, nice breakout today. I saw this here. I didn't see it on the breakout at 9, because if I did, I would have bought it, but I saw it here at 10. And I was like, I'll wait for it to come back to 9. And then it went to 12. So, props to those of you in WSRC. This one is solidly uptrending. I need to focus more on these gradual uptrenders rather than speculative potential January effect plays. I think it might be like a few days or weeks too early for January effect plays. So that's my own bad, getting a little too excited. WSRC is uptrending. COSM is uptrending. HLBZ. This one, even though it's down off its highs, this one is uptrending quite nicely and in a choppy way. So I'm not saying these are perfect trades, but I need to do a better job focusing on these uptrenders. TPTW is coming back a little bit. This was a recent uptrender. This might end up pulling a whole WSRC and coming back to the highs. Still a little too early to say that definitively, but you got to focus on these uptrenders. And that's my best lesson here. GDVM, even this one, is breaking out again today. Look at this. Not the most exciting chart, but a solid uptrend. So, I got to do better. I got to be more disciplined. Some of you were asking me about TBLA. Why is it down? Like, it's still up 45% today, but it's down off of its highs. They announced a 30-year agreement with Yahoo, but guess what? Like, this, again, has like this whole nasty long-term downtrend, and these long-term downtrending stocks are good for quick spikes, but if the overall trend takes over and resumes, they're just going to keep downtrending. So I'm still watching TBLA. It's a good deal with Yahoo, but, I got to focus more on GDVM. This is a nice little breakout. COSM, like there are these multi-day uptrenders, and it's just me being a little, narrow-minded and stubborn. CLOW, by the way, keeps going. Did this one have a morning panic today? No, not really. This is a typo, by the way, a misprint. It never really went from 340 to 3. This one has a lot of misprints. So this is the beginning of a panic. And I guess you could have like gotten in here at 340, 350, and now 370. But I want to see more panic. So I'm going to do a better job. I'm in timeout probably for the rest of the day because I'm just undisciplined. Focus on big percent gainers. be more disciplined, cut losses quickly. Leave a comment. Hopefully this video can help prevent you from making the same mistakes that I did. And again, take advantage of these sales. They're not going to last very long. I'll link them below. I'll see you in chat. Cheers.